So former President Donald Trump is expected to be in court today as the defamation damages trial involving writer E. Jean Carroll is set to resume in New York. Trump and his attorneys claim he wants to testify in his own defense, but it's unclear if he actually will take the stand. The trial had been postponed since Monday due to a juror's illness. Trump has continued to defame Carroll, posting about her on social media at least 37 times over a 2-hour time period late last night.
Willie, we're talking about...
This is not normal.
We're talking about a guy... Look at that guy. That's who the Republican Party wants to represent in the fall. We're talking about a guy still attacking this woman that the judge said he raped.
Yeah, still in a defamation case on the eve of taking the stand to try to defend himself against having to pay a whole bunch of money. His brilliant legal strategy is to be up all night, posting 37 times going after E. Jean Carroll. Let's go outside the courthouse this morning. Former litigator, MSNBC legal analyst Lisa Rubin is standing out in the rain for us. Lisa, thank you so much. Will Donald Trump actually take the stand today? And what will that look like if he does?
You know, Willie, if you had asked me before Monday, I would have said, no, are you kidding? But then on Monday, I saw something that changed my mind, and that's the presence of 2 of Trump's criminal defense attorneys that between them represent him in 3 of his 4 cases. They are Susan Necheles and Todd Blanche. And their presence here convinced me that they were here to watch their client take the stand because no one, even Susan Necheles and Todd Blanche, who are viewed as among the premier lawyers in Trump's orbit, couldn't convince him not to take the stand. But before he does, Willie, and before he even has that choice, we're going to hear from Donald Trump while the man sits silent at the table. And that's because E. Jean Carroll's lawyer, Robbie Kaplan, is expected to play a series of videotapes. Those include excerpts from prior depositions, including the one he gave in the AG's case that was unveiled to us last week, where he's boasting about the value of his brand and his net worth and how much cash he has on hand. And she's also going to attempt to play videotapes of Donald Trump on the stump this week, where he repeats his defamation against E. Jean Carroll. All of those things are totally relevant for the jury to consider as they think about what it will take to get Donald Trump to stop, which is the whole purpose of punitive damages here, Willie.
So, Lisa, what is the strategy from the Trump side? As you just pointed to, Robbie Kaplan ran circles around Donald Trump in those depositions. She's just going to roll out those tapes. Remember the famous moment where she showed a photograph of E. Jean Carroll, and he said, oh, that's Marla Maples, after saying E. Jean Carroll wasn't my type, which is a stunning defense to begin with. So what does the Trump team stand to gain by putting him on the stand?
I have absolutely no idea legally what they stand to gain. But here is where we see the convergence, Willie, of his legal and political strategies. You know, for the last couple of months, we have been talking about the increasing overlap of the calendar and the increasing overlap of the strategy. Here's where there's no daylight between them. All he is attempting to do here, I believe, is manufacture a dispute with the judge, the sort of conflagration that we will all have to cover that will endear him to his base and get people like us in a froth. And I'm not looking forward to it, to be totally honest with you.
Lisa, how much longer do you think federal judge Kaplan is going to put up with Donald Trump continue to talk about him acervically out of court?
Talking about Judge Kaplan, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think Judge Kaplan has any Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't think Judge Kaplan has any concern for himself. Remember, Judge Kaplan is an Article III judge. He has lifetime tenure, and he has the protection of the U.S. Marshals. He is hardy stuff. And so Judge Kaplan, like Judge Chutkan before him, and to some extent even like Judge Engoron, none of them have prohibited Donald Trump from talking about them. To the extent that there's a concern for polluting the for the jurors. There's a concern about other people in the courtroom, but not a single one of these judges has ever taken a step to limit Donald Trump from talking about them. They understand this is the job. They're public servants. They're diligent, and they're going to let him continue.